Starting right now, The Rita Panahi Show.
Good evening and welcome to the Rita Panahi Show. Coming up tonight, a win for Victoria's business sector as Premier Ben Carroll delays the start of the state's work-from-home policy. My panel will join me to cover the day's top headlines. AFL great turned successful fund manager Chris Judd will join me on the desk to speak about investors changing their strategies amid the government's tax hikes. Kosha Gator will have the latest from the US, including more disturbing Fauci revelations. And Harry and Meghan's newest film project, Cookie Queens, crumbles at the box office. Dee Dee Dunleavy will have the latest royal and entertainment news. And lefties losing it features socialists being socialists.
We do believe in taxing the hell out of millionaires. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, what does taxing the hell out of them mean?
Yeah, I don't have like a solid, but I think.
But shouldn't you?
But first, good news for the business sector in Victoria, good news for productivity and common sense, with Premier Ben Carroll announcing he will delay the start of the state's new work-from-home policy to July 1, 2027. The laws were due to come into effect on September 1. Premier Carroll said, "My door will always be open to the business community. That is why I've delayed these changes, and it's why I'm going to continue to work with the business community and make sure this policy is right." It follows calls from leading business groups to scrap the laws entirely. Property Council of Australia Chief Executive Mike Zorbas warned the bill would put Victoria back into the Stone Age. Joining me now for more on this is News Corp senior writer Patrick Carline and One Nation candidate for Southeastern Metropolitan, Colleen Harkin. Colleen, this move sets apart Ben Carroll from his predecessors. He said he's not Jacinta Allen, he's not Dan Andrews, and this is the first meaningful thing he's done to show that.
Well, not really, because it's only a delay. I mean, if he was going to
delay it till after the election,
correct,
so the people get a say, I guess.
Well, that is true, but also what has to be remembered here is that the Liberal Party were going to support it with a few very small tweaks.
Yes.
So, it's actually just a delay of what both major parties have said that they would actually support.
But isn't that a positive thing? Because this is a popular policy, Patrick. It's an idiotic policy, but it is popular. I mean, who doesn't like working from home in their pyjamas with the washing on and just, getting more done?
That's right.
Maybe you're not as productive in your actual paid job, but it makes life a little bit easier. So it was going to be a difficult U-turn, but he's made that call. How do you see this?
Look, go back to the federal election last year. Peter Dutton started the campaign by saying we're going to abolish work from home for public servants. That basically characterised the rest of that campaign, which was shambolic.
Yeah.
It is very popular, and it's what voters. It sounds like something that voters, they think they like it. The problem is it actually doesn't work in reality. You've got 4 and 5 businesses who are offering it as it is. It's unnecessary, and I think it was cynical. I think Jacinta Allen and her cronies thought, well, this is going to be popular. People think they like it. Let's go with it.
And if you can do your work from home remotely, Colleen, there's probably someone in another country who could do it remotely a lot cheaper than what you get paid. There's that. And also, our CBD is in terrible shape. The office vacancy rate is almost double that of Brisbane. It's considerably higher than Sydney. And this would have just made it worse.
It would have made it a lot worse. The other people that we're not really considering here is new to the workforce people, young people who are not even there yet, who are in need. It's a normal process of life in your work life is to get some mentoring from people around you and social contact. All the research will say that spending too much time alone is a very bad thing for your mental health. So, we have an obligation and a responsibility for young people coming into the workforce to give them the support that they're entitled to. And this kind of environment where we're shutting people down, removing them from each other and not supporting business and business innovation is a long-term problem.
Well, all the social implications also. I mean, most people still meet their partners
At work. Yeah.
So if everyone's at home, how's that going to happen? Now, Victorian advocacy group Fix Victoria has taken aim at the state's soaring debt with a new ad campaign. Let's have a quick look.
Victoria's tsunami of debt, waste, corruption and overspending is $229 billion and rising. It's destroying businesses, jobs, stealing resources from our schools, hospitals and police. Without a plan to clean up and pay back the debt, it will smash all we've built. And who'll have to pay? Our children. Join us to Fix Victoria.
Patrick, it's a hard task to get just regular folk caring about the state's debt. It's often just some abstract figure. You don't know how it's going to impact you personally. So to bring this issue home, do you think that's an impactful ad or has it missed the mark?
Oh, look, I think it's dramatic, certainly. And I think what's happening at the moment, everyone's struggling with their own personal debt or cost of living, mortgages or whatever. It has been an abstraction, as you put it. But I think in Victoria it's a little bit different because it's now we're coming to realise that of that $200 billion of debt, there's $15 billion estimated that was spent on corruption with the CFMEU. We've got a suburban rail loop. I don't know how much we've spent on that so far. No one wants that. And you actually got tangible numbers to put to this abstraction. And I think that makes it slightly different.
Yeah, I mean, it's not abstract if you're paying land tax every year or if you have been in a hospital recently and seen the state of our health system. But for a lot of people, they think the debt doesn't affect them. Now, Fix Victoria's head of advocacy, Gideon Rosner, was on Credlin last night. He told Peter what the group is hoping to achieve.
We are holding all the parties to account. We are not working with any party, but we will work with any party, any politician, any public figure with a serious plan to do something about the terrible problems Victoria has, whether it be the debt crisis, whether it be the fact that crime is at the highest record since levels began.
Colleen, as a former Liberal turned One Nation candidate, do you see this group as being aligned with any political party or is it just ABL, anyone but Labor?
I saw the interview with Credlin last night. It's clearly a group of people who are very concerned about the debt and the crime in Victoria, so all power to them. I'm not quite sure what they mean by they will work with any party that wants to help them in that cause. To the issue of the debt, I think that the average person is not really understanding yet what $1 million an hour can do. And so, for example, a community hospital, a small community hospital could have been built in about 5 days. With the money that has been wasted. A new major hospital in the city would have been about 6 weeks. So I think that's the kind of message. It's a very emotive ad. It's very powerful from that point of view. I'm not sure yet that it lands in terms of the impact on me as a constituent. But those figures, I mean, the extraordinary waste of money in Victoria has to be stopped. And so, if Fix Victoria part of that messaging, great. One Nation will fix it. If I can do a plug there.
There you go.
Absolutely. Now, this is an issue that I just cannot believe. I can't believe we're even having this discussion. And good on Till MP Monique Ryan. You don't hear me say that too often on this program, but she's among one of the very few leftist feminists who's called out Anthony Albanese. She's asked him to pick up the phone and apologise to Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi for making fun of her body, making fun of her breasts. Here she was on Nine's Today show this morning.
I think we can probably expect a bit better. If I was the PM, I'd pick up the phone to the Japanese Prime Minister and apologise to her on this one.
It's rare to see a leftist feminist who even just acknowledges that this happened. Yeah. And the misogyny here is clear. If Tony Abbott or Scott Morrison had done anything approaching this level of idiocy, you'd never hear the end of it. To reduce a powerful woman, a leader of a country, a world leader, to her bodily parts and mock her, I just cannot believe the Prime Minister would be so foolish.
And I think it goes to the issue also of his ignorance of other cultures. I mean, I lived in Japan for a couple of years, and giving a gift of perfect, exquisite fruit is a considered gift.
Yeah.
So beautiful.
Those melons are worth hundreds of dollars.
They're extraordinary gifts.
Yeah.
So to have, in his position of a diplomacy, to be totally ignorant or arrogant of that is astounding for a person who holds his position.
Well, yeah, even if you believe him, which I don't know how you possibly could when you look at the footage where he's doing this, when the podcast is mentioning Pamela Anderson. I mean, it's clear the innuendo, Patrick. To pretend otherwise is just treating us all like we're idiots. Even if the gift was, say, a pencil and there was no sexual innuendo, to nominate that as a crap gift is enormously offensive to the Japanese. They are a culture built on respect, and something like that is just so impolite and disrespectful. And again, as Colleen said, why would you cause a diplomatic incident over a silly podcast?
Well, that's the thing. I'm not sure he's a misogynist per se. I don't think the evidence is there to sort of say he's a hateful man.
I'm not calling him a misogynist, but I'm saying those antics were very much far more misogynistic than Tony Abbott looking at his watch as Julia Gillard
Absolutely,
spoke.
yes. Look, it's a grotty story, and it's amazing it's still kicking around, and it's because of bad judgment, and I think that's what makes it legitimate. It's not about whether it's about melons and breasts or whatever. It's about the fact that the Prime Minister really does not have a clue. And he's made a very bad judgment, and he's sort of tried to deny it all the way through, which has sort of lent it legs as a story, I think.
It's just so foolish. And if he just came out and said, I stuffed up, I should have done better, I've apologised personally to the Prime Minister, then it'll all be done. But it's this gaslighting that's happening, Colleen. You got Tanya Plibersek on Sunrise saying, oh, no, I'm glad you showed the footage because it proves nothing was said that was improper.
Yeah.
Does she think we're both blind and deaf?
Yeah, and there's also the issue of what is it that the Prime Minister should be doing with his time? Like, does he really want to kind of be seen as being some cool kid making, dirty jokes? It's really not what I want.
Yeah, it was the same podcast where he talked about, wanting to shag Kylie.
Correct, yeah.
I mean, really.
Yeah.
Before you go, Jim Chalmers is facing pushback from states over Labor's contentious tax hikes. The Queensland government is arguing the Commonwealth should compensate businesses hit by transfer duties when they restructure as a result of the new 30% minimum tax on discretionary trusts. Patrick, Queensland Treasurer David Janetsky said it was not his job to clean up the unintended consequences of the May federal budget. Makes a good point there. Why should the states pick up the slack?
I think every Australian falls into that category at this stage. It's a dreadful budget. I think there's 500,000 businesses that are structured on trusts in Australia, and they obviously weren't considered when they came down, delivered this document. Why wasn't the homework done? There's such a sort of casual laziness to the whole thing, and there's unintended consequences everywhere. It's like a bad episode of Yes Minister on peptides.
Well, some of them are unforeseen, but a lot of it was entirely predictable, Colleen. We talked about it on this program because we've gone down this road before of getting rid of negative gearing, and we brought it back because it had some devastating impacts on the rental market. Yeah. We've seen New Zealand just recently trial these policies. It did not go too well. They've reversed course, but it seems like the Albanese government has ignored all that and decided this is going to solve the housing crisis.
Well, the other extraordinary component of this is that we have departments, like of hundreds of people whose job it is to work out what the consequences might be. And here we are months later, still with the fallout of things that have been ill-considered. To Patrick's point, there's about 500,000 businesses whose businesses are structured on a trust, and the cost to them now to restructure so that they continue with their business. What Australia needs is less tax, less, red tape and bureaucracy so that we can, sort of flourish in innovation and stuff, and it's exactly what they're trying to stop.
And there's also going to be all sorts of costs for investors to value properties and assets. So, again, something else that really wasn't thought about when they're coming up with these brilliant plans. Colleen Harkin, Patrick Carline, thank you so much for your time. Now, we know residential property investors and the housing market have been smashed by Jim Chalmers' capital gains tax and negative gearing changes. Share market investors are also adversely impacted with a minimum 30% tax rate on capital gains, some paying as much as 47% in CGT. Investors are being urged to sharpen their strategies amid the Albanese government's tax hikes. Who better to speak to about this topic than AFL great turned wildly successful fund manager, Chris Judd. Chris, you founded Cerruti Macro Fund 3 years ago, and I had to double check this today because your fund has returned 16.7% annually for the last 3 years. So your investors are quite happy. But the wider market, what sort of strategies are people employing to try to minimise their tax with what we saw in the budget?
I can sort of see Comrade Albo and Chalmers wondering what all the fuss is about. There's going to be no capital gains tax by the time they're finished with everything, which obviously relies on things to go up. But look, there's a bit of a discrepancy in the market currently. So large cap stocks are still performing pretty well because they really rely on superannuation flows, which are really steady and regular. You know, they're coming in at 12% a year on year. But the small cap stocks, which are much more closely linked to the housing market and consumer confidence, they've really taken a bit of a battering of late. But I think what has changed is the interest rate cycle in Australia, and consensus up until recently was for another 2 rate rises for the rest of this calendar year. But you've seen the RBA hold today, and I think all the banks bar Westpac now believe that the next move in rates will be down next year, which is a significant change.
That is a significant change. Today's rate announcement was as expected. So are you predicting that the next rate move is going to be down? Is that the consensus, or is that a Chris Judd analysis?
No, that's now consensus. So all the big banks, bar and Westpac, that's their current view. And we think that sort of makes sense. We think confidence has really been smacked by the budget. And even the employment number, headline-wise, doesn't look too bad, but you look at the last print, 61% of the jobs created were part-time jobs. And then a huge amount are either in the public sector, or if they are private sector jobs, the revenue for those, you know, if you're an NDIS business, for instance, you might be a private business employing people, that revenue very much still comes from the public purse. So I think the employment market is much softer than what the headline suggests. The RBA would, of course, know all this stuff, and while inflation is still higher than their target, you know, we think confidence is dropping rapidly.
Now, superannuation seems to be the last low-tax investment vehicle. Is that safe, or will a debt-riddled government at some point look at the trillions in super and think we can get a bigger share of that?
Yeah, look, I think that's what this government has proven to do. They look at where are the chunkiest amounts of money that they can get their hands on, and you know, the death tax feels, you know, a lot of these changes to trusts was an underhanded way to get a death tax installed. And superannuation feels like the logical next target, because it is just a huge pool of money, and the government's spending it at just a completely reckless pace. So I would be surprised if they didn't come after it at some stage. They already had a half a go at it in unrealised gains not long ago. But for the time being, yes, super is still the most attractive way to invest outside your own residential property that you're living in, which still doesn't obviously pay capital gains tax for the time being.
Now, self-managed super fund investors will have to shift their tactics as well, because they can no longer borrow new money to invest. Explain that to my audience, and what does that mean for people who have self-managed super funds?
Yeah, so self-managed super funds until recently were able to use their super money along with borrowed money from banks to buy apartments or houses, and that's no longer allowed. This was done without any consultation to industry groups. It was a sort of make good with the Greens to get the CGT changes through Parliament. And whilst probably not significant in terms of house prices in and of itself, so slightly less than 1% of houses and apartments are bought using this strategy, but about 5% of new builds, particularly apartments off the plan, are bought using this strategy. So for a government that's saying they're focused on delivering 1.2 million new houses over the next 5 years, this is another example where the sort of platitudes don't really marry up to the policies. So there is going to be a cost there, but also there's just a cost There's a lot of businesses that have been set up purely for this purpose. They purely service self-managed super funds looking to get into the property market, and a lot of the time it is the apartment market off the plan. So it's, again, another example where these whole companies had 3 days' notice to effectively learn that they don't have a business anymore. It's just a very hard economy to run a business in currently when things can rapidly change.
Is this government, in your experience, the least business savvy? They seem to have very little regard for the business community, very little consultation. And like you said, so many have been taken by surprise by some of the announcements in the budget.
Yeah, I mean, it reeks of a government not just filled with people who've never run their own business, but most of them have never even worked in the private sector.
Yeah.
And that's what it speaks to. There's a complete lack of understanding of how the private sector actually works. They understand the benefits they get through tax revenue from the private sector, but there is a real underappreciation of the role private business has in the Australian economy, and also the inability to just keep dropping more and more red tape and changes onto private businesses, and for them to be able to continue to operate.
Before you go, the housing sector, is it as bad as people are saying? Is this a generational slump, or is it just a little bump in the road and we're going to see property prices booming again in no time?
Well, yeah, I don't think we haven't. It's been more than a generation since house prices did drop. So, yeah, I think it is going to be a generational slump. I don't think house prices are going to drop 50%.
Yeah.
But if house prices drop 15 to 20%, the second and third order of effects on that will be material. I think it's probably worth separating the housing market. I think entry-grade properties will hold up reasonably well because net migration is so strong and people have to live somewhere. But I think medium and top-end property, I think, is going to feel the pinch, and that'll be interesting to see what the second and third order effects are from that.
And that doesn't help first home buyers, does it? Because they're not entering the market at that top end. So all you're doing is really hurting people who've worked very hard to invest in those properties.
But also, so I'm sympathetic to the view that property prices can't go up forever, and it's not the best place for society to store their wealth. I'm sympathetic to that view. But the idea that you crunch property prices by 20% and everyone's ability to buy property stays the same is moronic, because employment's going to get crunched in that environment, and in an era where AI is already taking away a lot of white-collar jobs, what's far more likely is property prices drop 15 to 20% and that people's ability to service a mortgage drops by much further than that.
Chris Judd, always a pleasure. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Rita.
Still to come, lefties losing it, plus the latest from the US, including more disturbing Fauci revelations. Kosher Gator is up next. You're watching the Rita Panahi Show, and it's time for Lefties Losing It. Let's hear from Democrat Socialist co-chair Megan Romer, who boldly proclaims that they are going to tax the hell out of millionaires. But when she's asked the simple follow-up question of what that would look like, well, she flounders like a big moth in a spider web.
We do believe in taxing the hell out of millionaires. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, what does taxing the hell out of them mean?
Yeah, I don't have like a solid, but I think.
But shouldn't you? I mean, if you're the co-chair of the DSA, shouldn't you be more specific than just taxing the hell out of something? What exactly do you mean?
So again, it's democracy, right? And we have to look at what we need to spend and what we need. We don't want to depend on the existence of millionaires, because that means people are still getting exploited.
Oh dear, they're not sending their best, are they? And we've got our own hard left activists right here in Australia, and right now they are particularly triggered by the rise of right-wing party One Nation. Let's look at some of the folk protesting against One Nation who are leading several polls.
What are you here for today?
I'm introducing my niece to activism.
And how old's your niece?
6.5.
6.5, there you go.
That we shouldn't be using children to push any political agenda, especially harmful ones that can lead to real deaths.
Some contradictory messaging there, but I'm sure these fine folk are great at maths. Let's see just how clever they are.
$1 billion is a million. So that means if somebody has $1 billion, they could own 1 million average price houses in Australia.
Please explain.
Gina Reinhart could buy enough houses for half the population of Australia. You see, people don't get how much $1 billion is. She could buy every one of them a house at $1 million.
Oh, did you hear that? She thinks you can buy 1 million homes at $1 million a pop with just $1 billion. Just a few zeros out there, love. You can buy 1,000 homes at $1 million a pop with $1 billion. Wonder if she's a teacher. Now to the UK, where the trans green MSP for Edinburgh appears to have decried the demonisation of rape and the myth, as they call it, of a monster rapist. Listen to this dude.
And I think our distaste towards rape is towards rape. It's towards the idea of and the act of rape, not towards the myth of this monster rapist, as now we've, born to be thinking of it that way. Because there definitely is a demonization of rape, in the sense of it is a spectrum.
A spectrum of rape, and rape and rapists should always be demonised. I shouldn't need to say that. That particular character, Q Manavanan, who identifies as they, them, only apologised earlier today for those reprehensible comments that he made last year. Now, we love an MS Now meltdown. It is the station that's home to the loopiest lefties in the media. It makes CNN look fair and balanced. So imagine just how far left the modern Democrats have lurched for an MS Now anchor to say this. Here is Joe Scarborough pleading with the Democrats to stop being full-blown crazy. Never go full crazy.
This is about the Democrats once again fumbling the football on the 2-yard line when they have a chance to make great gains, but being so woke to call out the obvious. I swear to God, it's crazy that we're even having this conversation. If somebody says a woman being raped doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, it's okay to call that person out and demand that candidates distance themselves from those people. If you want to rule, over a party and win elections.
Let's bring in News24 contributor Kosha Gator. Kosha, Joe Scarborough is a doofus, but even a broken clock is right twice a day. And he was right there. The Democrats are increasingly radical with their policies, with their candidates. And it's not good news for them leading up to the midterms.
My eye was going to the other two, Mika to his right and the other reporter over there, and they felt like children being scolded, or maybe they saw some truth in what he was saying. But and I think he speaks for a lot of Democrats that are not all that far to the left. But unfortunately for them, it's too late, because that wing of the party is ascendant. That wing of the party started with the Squad and AOC, and she sort of was a bee in Pelosi's bonnet, but kind of won in the court of public opinion many, many times. And then from there germinates Mamdani and El Sayed and all these people who are defeating the establishment, more moderate, mainstreamy Democrats, one after the other.
And they're often defeating them with a lot less money.
A lot less money, a lot more grassroots support, because the electorate has shifted in their favor. They tend to be charismatic. They're able to somehow just get their finger on the pulse of a certain swath of the electorate that, at least in the primary, is enough for them to win. The general will be
Well, the demographic changes in some of those electorates, I think, explains that. You look at the demographics of some of those areas that we're talking about, and it's not a huge shock that you've got these sorts of characters being selected. Now, let's look at one of these radical blue state governors signing an abortion bill, abortion up until birth. This is Governor Maura Healey signing a sweeping abortion bill earlier today that removes gestational age limits. Kosha, this is a far more nuanced issue than the media represent. The majority of Americans are pro-choice in the first trimester, but a clear majority are against second-term abortion. And now we're talking here about third-term abortion. We've got 10 states that are pretty much allowing abortion right up to birth.
And I don't think history will judge those kinds of graphics kindly. You've got all these women clapping behind that. You know, they've come a long way from it should be safe, legal, and rare, which was the slogan in the Clinton years, to clapping for late term, which call it what it is. It could be up until the day before birth. And doing that, and that's.
And we're talking about even post 24 weeks. You've got premature babies that survive births at that age. So you're talking about a baby that could survive outside the womb, and it's not just those rare cases where the mother's health is in jeopardy, and that's the only way to save the mother. So that argument is brought forward. Why are they so preoccupied with this issue? Because if you've already got abortion widely available all the way to 24 weeks, why would they make such a point to extend that well into to the end of the third trimester? It's
become sort of this touchstone issue culturally. And after Roe v. Wade was overturned, there was a lot of backlash actually in some of the Republican states that were going outside of the mainstream of opinion in the other direction, the heartbeat rule, or one state said not at all. Even if you're 6 weeks pregnant, you can't do it, for instance, and they suffered backlash. Even the electorate in those red states, Texas, Kentucky, et cetera, pushed back on that because it was outside of where 70-80% of the country is. This is the pendulum swinging in the other direction, where so much of the left is so angry by that, and that is one of the legacies of the Supreme Court. It was 50 years in the making. They overturned that bill that said it's returned to the states. And this is what you get, that you'll have 23 states in the other direction, some quite extreme, as we said, on that side of the aisle, and then many on this side. And they're, I think, showing their true colors, where you can now, if you want to get that, you can go to Massachusetts or New York or these kinds of states that are very, very liberal, and people can travel across state lines if they need to do it, and then there's others in the other direction. So I think you're seeing this polarizing of the issue because Roe v. Wade was returned to the states.
Now, despite the Democrats' woes, and they have plenty of them, it's the Republicans who are facing an even bigger challenge in the midterms, particularly with the unpopular war against Iran pushing up gas prices. A recent Reuters Ipsos poll released last week showed that 42% of registered voters say they would vote for a Democrat congressional candidate compared to 37% for a Republican. This is always the way. The party that is the ruling party typically takes a hit in the midterms. The Trump administration has the added complication of the Iran war and all the consequences of that. How are they going to go into these midterms arresting some of that decline?
It's tricky. They are really in a tough spot. You're right that the big picture's incumbent party does usually face that, but it is deeper. Here it runs deeper. The war, as you mentioned, in its own right, because there is a whole generation of people that are just done with U.S. interventionism and policing the world. Then there's a ripple effect beyond that it is having impact to oil prices and cost of living and inflation, and all of that is up, which upsets people. That these are the pocketbook issues that most people who aren't in the weeds of politics follow. And a lot of it is also just the coalition that Trump built. Had those Maha moms, it had the crypto people, it had the anti-war non-interventionalists, it had the regular dyed-in-the-wool Republicans all coming together, and they're not on the same page on these issues, and that rift is out there. So I think it's tricky. Right now, the poll of polls says that the Democrats are favored to take back at least the House or really shrink the margin, and that's going to spell doom for the Trump administration's agenda in his last 2 years. But there's still 88 days, which feels like 88 years in politics. It's a lifetime. A week is a lifetime in politics, as the saying goes. So there is time to turn it around, wrap up the war, try to take a win, and just focus on domestic issues. They probably can still do it.
Now, more disturbing revelations about former top health bureaucrat Anthony Fauci, with texts obtained from Dr. Fauci's phone showing he expressed concerns that the second dose of a COVID vaccine could potentially be associated with miscarriage in the first trimester. And these were in conversations with Biden-era CDC Director Rochelle Walensky and Surgeon General Vivek Murthy. These text messages were being exchanged back in January 2021. But despite Fauci privately warning of miscarriage risk, he was publicly claiming the opposite.
Since the EUA and under the EUA, approximately 20,000 pregnant women have been vaccinated with no red flags, as we say. And this is being monitored by the CDC and the FDA.
Kosher, we've had the Fauci diaries. They were illuminating. We had the astonishing performance at the Senate hearing where he pled the fifth 111 times. And now these text messages. There's just one thing after another. And we do know that that preemptive pardon stops him from being prosecuted on any federal charges, but the states are free to investigate and possibly charge.
States are free, and also the pardon had the end date of January 20th, 2025. So after that, if he deleted phone records or if he hid anything, there's some reporting that maybe that's what the Senate is looking into. We shall see. It will also require a lot of political will on the part of the Republicans to go there, which we all know is in short supply generally in politics, and many would say with most of the establishment Republicans. So I'm not sure how far they're going to push that. But this story with him knowing about the risks of miscarriage in the first trimester, that's shameless. And then he went out and did that. If they get that message out, half the country will further, I mean, his image is going from bad to worse with all of these revelations. That one, I think, will be hit quite personally to a lot of people because it's a special kind of deception.
Yes.
But tying it back to the other topic that we just discussed, half the country or states like Massachusetts, they don't really seem to care about that. So they may see that as a...
They don't see the reporting. There were so many lies he was caught in, so many times where his private diaries contradicted what he was saying publicly, including about school closures, where he was saying publicly, well, I had nothing to do with school closures, when he was bragging in his diary about influencing leaders in New York and California
He's a megalomaniac.
to close schools. Yeah, this character is something else. But celebrities are still backing him, still putting him up on a pedestal, including Barbara Streisand. She has called him heroic. She said, Dr. Anthony Fauci has been subjected to a disgraceful witch hunt by Senate Republicans. Dr. Fauci is an American hero. But then we must remember Barbara is not the brightest bulb out there. She also claimed in the past that Donald Trump was making her fat. Yes, that is a real headline. And Kosher, she has also pledged to flee the US if Donald Trump ever won. And she's still there.
She's known for the Streisand effect, where she wanted people to not photograph her beach house, and the more she talked about it, the more they did. Let's hope she brings some of that onto Fauci and his diaries and text messages. Then she will be doing a public service.
Now to the NBA, and this is an incredible attempt to rewrite history. This is a WNBA star, DeJounte Carrington. We spoke about her last night. She's now claiming that, no, she wasn't playing the race card. The comments she made about white privilege after she was ejected for a flagrant foul against Sophie Cunningham had nothing to do with that incident. She tweeted, I've never once claimed that the assessment of the foul was white privilege. That was your assumption. She said that's to a journalist. Try exercising your critical thinking skills. She goes on with some other nonsense there. And it is just complete nonsense because she even tagged the fever in her white privilege tweet, Kosher. How she could expect anybody to buy this latest explanation. The fact is she played the race card. She's getting mocked for it. And now she's pretending, oh, no, it didn't mean that. Well, what did it mean?
Tough girl isn't coming across very tough now. A little bit of heat from the internet, and she's trying to do, well, you don't know that what I was talking about. Not only did she tag them, as you say, the timestamp. She literally ran off the court, or when she was ejected off the court, she ran to her phone and did it within minutes. So everybody knows.
No, it's just a random thought about white privilege, just 2 words with the team that she was just playing tagged.
I know, everyone knows it, unless the alternative is she's just somebody who thinks about white privilege and randomly tweets about it. Is that what she's suggesting? The WNBA has been the story of the week for me, especially for people like me who don't follow sports in general, and certainly not the WNBA. This thing, the 2 players trolling them and identifying as women.
No, that's
and the emergency meeting. It's
one of them signed the papers to enter the draft, so it's happening. And the WNBA is absolutely
it's on fire.
Panic mode. And to claim white privilege there, given that the ref was black, the player she thumped was white, so perhaps she's claiming that that player is getting special treatment because of the colour of her skin. But really, the WNBA seems determined to fail. They seem to hate their most marketable players. They seem to go out of their way to alienate sports fans with these radical hard-left positions. And you wonder why, because it's a league that's made massive losses the whole time it's been in operation. You'd think you'd want to get some positive attention and get some fans to games.
And they're not a product or a commercial enterprise, ultimately. They're a loss-making subsidiary, as you say, by the NBA, and they're a charity for a certain cause and ideology and set of people. And Cunningham and Caitlin Clark don't fit in that worldview, and now the heat is on them. They're being trolled. They've really become the laughingstock. And if the NBA ever cut them loose, which I don't think, again, they have the political courage to do that, but if they did, they would not survive because they do not stand on their own 2 feet as a commercial enterprise.
Kosha Gator, thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Still to come, Harry and Meghan's newest film project, Cookie Queens, crumbles at the box office. Dee Dunleavy will have all the latest royal and entertainment news. Welcome back. Now, Harry and Meghan's newest film project, Cookie Queens, crumbled at the box office over the weekend. The documentary marked the Sussexes' theatrical feature debut as executive producers, but the film opened at the box office at number 15, which was 5 spots behind Cat Video Fest 2026, a 70-minute theatrical compilation of the internet's best cat videos. Joining me now is broadcaster and News24 contributor Dee Dunleavy. Dee, to be fair, the Cat Video Fest sounds pretty awesome. I'd watch that. I would.
Same. And the people chose the cats. The cats beat the cookies. This is another failure for Harry and Meghan. They've mistaken fame for popularity. Now, these two have got enormous name recognition worldwide. They've got the backing of some big players in the Hollywood production area. They trade off the royal brand, and yet they still cannot produce anything that is successful. So this is another thing they've done that's bombed. To be fair, it was something that was being produced and then they just slapped their name on it, obviously hoping to get the credit. They did a lot of promotion. They turned up live to the premiere at Sundance, both of them, Harry as well. They did the red carpet there, all the interviews, and nothing was going to save it.
Well, then you own the failure. If you're going to put yourself front and centre, even if you weren't there at the start, you've come onto the production late, but you're the face of it and you're doing the promotion and it bombs, well, you wear that. Very interesting. You're right. Some very big players gave them a red-hot chance to succeed. You've got the likes of Netflix and Spotify giving them enormous amounts of money, and you've really got to question the judgment of the people in those positions.
You do,
because that money has been squandered.
Can you just imagine the smug looks at Netflix? They would be feeling very satisfied with themselves because they're not saddled with any of this dross that Harry and Meghan turned out anymore. They've got first option if they choose to take it, but I think they're just hanging around for when there's a divorce documentary. Don't laugh, it could happen.
That one probably will rate well. Now, last week we spoke about cooking legend Martha Stewart's claims that Meghan Markle spilled details about her family's meeting with King Charles in the UK. Well, a source says that is not true. The source told People magazine Meghan didn't talk about her European vacation other than to say the family had a great time. Now, Dee, who do we believe here? I've got to say, I'm with Martha. She's actually putting her name to this. An anonymous source? I mean, really? Did they have the initials Meghan Markle, perhaps? I'm not buying this denial.
No, Meghan Markle has People magazine on speed dial.
Oh, there you go.
Do you remember in 2019, 5 anonymous Meghan friends came out and defended her against all the tabloid gossip? Who did they give that story to? People magazine.
Yes.
Every exclusive sit-down with Harry and Meghan is with People magazine. So if there was a call from an anonymous source who was at that dinner party, who didn't hear the same thing that Martha Stewart heard, I would guess that call came from Montecito. It's got to be true.
Yeah, well, if otherwise, why not put your name to it? Martha Stewart put her name to it.
Exactly.
So put your name to it. If you're calling her a liar, then say, I was there and these are my credentials. This is my name. Now, Brad Pitt has confessed he has broken his sobriety after 7 years. He told Esquire that he can have a few glasses of wine, but he can't have a lot. Didi, he also opened up about the darkest period in his life where he experienced suicidal thoughts. Very honest, very raw. And we know he's got the ongoing family issues. Pretty much all of his children have distanced themselves from him, changed their names to get rid of Pitt.
I find his comments very concerning. It doesn't sound like recovery to me, because if you are acknowledging that you have that alcohol has caused great damage in your life in the past, then it's not about working out how many drinks you can get away with. To me, this sounds like a dangerous, slippery slope that he's on. I think it would be better to acknowledge that he should avoid alcohol altogether than to be talking about how he can manage it. And in saying that he needs to be, I think his words were to be professional about the way he deals with alcohol, he's acknowledging there's an issue there that troubles him that he needs to deal with. He'd be best to keep away from it. I'm not an expert in the field, but that's what it looks like to me.
Well, yeah, people who are expert in the field who deal with addicts say that if you're an addict, then you've got to just have zero. You can't manage your drinking because that's why. But you became an alcoholic. You don't have that in you, but. I don't know. I mean, it does sound a little bit sad, but then you would think if you had a serious problem, you wouldn't be confessing all this to Esquire. We'll keep an eye on that. Actress Anne Hathaway, has been roasted online over her maternity outfit on the red carpet over the weekend, Didi. Apparently, this is her response to people accusing her of faking her pregnancy. It is an interesting outfit. I've got to say, I like women who show off their bumps.
Oh, do you? I hate it.
You're not a fan?
No.
I think I've seen some beautiful examples, including Heidi Klum, who's had so many babies, and she was pretty much on the catwalk for most of them, and she looked spectacular. That outfit I'm not on board with. That one is
pretty weird. And I know when you're pregnant, you want to be comfortable. Those jeans look sloppy, but they look comfortable. So I get it, but I don't like the tummy hanging out. But the weird thing about this story for me is that people are questioning whether she's actually pregnant or not. They're saying she's...
That's become a thing. People keep questioning people's pregnancy. I know Meghan Markle went through that recently as well.
But what does it tell us about Hollywood? That people do not believe anything that celebrities tell them these days, and so they have to do a forensic examination of a pregnancy, which is pretty awful. And Anne Hathaway feeling that she needed to respond to these people, but why dignify them with any sort of response at all? And I thought the outfit was weird. She obviously learned nothing on the set of The Devil Wears Prada. It looks strange.
It did, but you know what? Her bump was beautiful. All pregnant women are beautiful, so yeah, good on you, Anne. Now, Keith Urban is reportedly relieved after learning his ex-wife Nicole Kidman has moved on. An insider told Radar Online that there is no jealousy surrounding her reported relationship with billionaire businessman Michael Reinstein. Didi, please, you're calling BS on this, aren't you?
Yes,
I certainly am.
Have you seen the new boyfriend? He is a silver fox. I mean...
And he is an accomplished man. He's a billionaire. Yes. He's got no time for fame. He's not with her for that. He's a man of substance.
No, he's exactly the man that she needs right now. And Keith Urban just got a big old wake-up call, because I think he was probably thinking that Nicole would come crying back. That was what we heard straight away, was that she somehow wanted to rekindle the relationship. Well, the gravy train's over, mate. He's wrote... No, he has. None of us here in Australia knew who he was before Nicole married him. Few people did, if you liked country music. She has been his ticket to fame, and it's gone. But if we believe the accounts, it's because of him pussyfooting around behind her. He would be learning now, the door's closed. You're not coming back, mate. It's all gone.
Grass wasn't greener on the other side, was it? Now, another actor for HBO's upcoming Harry Potter TV series has spoken out about J.K. Rowling's views on trans issues. Belle Powley, who plays Potter's Aunt Petunia Dursley, told The Telegraph that she loves the books, but I strongly disagree with J.K. Rowling's views on gender. I think that the trans community deserves safety and dignity and respect and total acceptance. Didi, another empty-headed, virtue-signalling actress. I mean, if you really feel that strongly about J.K. Rowling's words, pick another project. Don't get rich and famous off her work.
Exactly. I think, I don't know why actors and actresses feel compelled to come out and make a stand one way or the other against J.K. Rowling, usually against. It's like that's your ticket into Hollywood. And I don't think it's doing anything to protect trans rights, if that's what you want to do. I don't know why this young woman...
J.K. Rowling is pro-women. She's not anti-trans. She's pro-protecting female-only spaces.
But she's also been very open about saying that she's been fine with the cast of the original Harry Potter coming out and speaking against her. That's fine. Nobody should lose their job. She's fine for everyone to have their say. But why does it have to be turned into a fight? Oh, someone else is against J.K. Rowling. When I think
the
most
woman
people
is
agree with
of
her.
the left, and they still attack her because on this one issue, she has transgressed in their eyes. Disgusting. Didi Dunleavy, always a pleasure.
Thanks, Rita.
And that's all the time we have. Don't go anywhere. Late Edition is up next.